But a bigger problem, a much, much bigger problem, I think, for the theist in terms of the problem of evil is the problem of animal suffering. And it's a topic that I made a video about recently. I think it's my most recent video, actually. And I called it Christianity's biggest problem. And the reason I didn't call it religion's biggest problem is because I think other religions, like Islam, have bigger problems than the problem of animal suffering. But certainly within Christianity, it's its biggest problem in my view, and it is still a problem for other religions. The problem of animal suffering is particularly difficult because of the fact that most of the theodicies proposed to reconcile evil with God simply don't apply to animals. Sure, you can have a free will theodicy, but animals aren't considered to be moral agents, right? They don't really control their actions morally in the same way. We don't morally judge a lion for eating a gazelle. We don't call it murder. And if that's the case, then this free will theodicy won't apply to them. Some Christians like to say that evil exists because from it, more goods can emerge, right? Like we can grow intellectually, we can look back upon our life and see that we've kind of gained a lot and we've kind of rationally increased our knowledge of the good or something of this sort. But animals, by and large, non-human animals, are non-rational creatures. They can't intellectually grow and develop in this way. So this theodicy doesn't apply to them. Theists also like to claim that evil is justified because it will be compensated for in the afterlife. But do we believe that non-human animals are going to inherit eternal life in the same way that human beings are? Most monotheists will say not. So this problem needs to be addressed. And that would be the case if there were only mild suffering inflicted upon non-human animals. But it's so much worse than that, because the suffering that animals go through in the wild is so incomprehensibly large in terms of its substance, but also in terms of the numbers of animals involved, that this requires some very, very serious explanation. But not only does the Christian kind of try and fail, they oftentimes don't even try, because the problem of animal suffering is relegated to a footnote or a kind of passing paragraph, something that's not taken seriously, even though I think it should be at the very forefront of the discussion surrounding the problem of evil. How can we possibly say that a just God could preside over a world that so requires unimaginable suffering, predation, disembowelment, venomous snakes tearing apart their prey, and a zebra being killed by having its windpipe caught in the jaw of a lion and asphyxiating to death over the course of minutes? Who on earth could possibly say, what thinking person could say, that if we assume the existence of an all-loving, all-powerful God, this is what we would expect to find in the natural world? Right now, it may be the case that the kinds of human suffering that people like to talk about would exist. We could expect them to exist on a Christian worldview because of the existence of free will or because of the existence of whatever, insert blank. But this is made so much harder for the issue of animals because these theodicies don't even apply. And I'll also state that although the theodicies do apply to human beings, I think even then they can be responded to. But in the case of animal suffering, they don't even apply in the first place. So what have we got? And again, I'll ask the same question I asked before. If we assume an atheistic worldview, what would we expect to see in the natural world? Well, we'd expect to see random mutations and evolutionary struggle for survival that relies upon suffering and fear and death to propel the strongest genetics forward. This is what we'd expect to see. So if we assume atheism, and the thing we expect to see is exactly what we observe in the natural world, and if we assume Christianity, and the thing that we expect to see is absolutely nothing like what we see in the natural world, what do we conclude? At the very least, I think this means we should refuse to grant our assent to Christianity until some form of justification is forthcoming.